Hi folks, it's Norm Holbrook here from Tearfund Canada. I'm at the home of Wayne Johnson, CEO of Tearfund Canada. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a different style of gardening this year. We're going to do something that replicates conservation agriculture. Conservation agriculture. It's a method of farming that we've been teaching in different parts of Africa. It's especially good for parts of Africa that are dry, where the soil's not very fertile. Conservation agriculture, or we often just refer to it as CA, has got three basic principles. You're trying to do minimum tillage. So for those of you that are from farming communities in Canada will know the term no-till. It's also got ground cover, so the soil can be covered either with mulch or with plants that are companion plants that are planted quite close together so that the soil is shaded. And also we try to have crop rotation so that we minimize the problems with pests and like that. So that's what we're going to start off with today. Wayne has taken off all of the sod here in his backyard, and you'll notice if you look here you can see that we have some very heavy kind of clay, so there's not much topsoil here at all. And this in a way mimics the conditions a lot of our African friends have, because they have serious problems of soil fertility and poor soil quality, often very sandy soils that are depleted. So here we're going to try to replicate conservation agriculture by planting in specific holes, and that way we're able to make the holes themselves more nutrient rich. We're going to make sure that they've got some manure and some good soil in them so that we can see some good results without having to cultivate the whole area. We've created kind of rectangular shaped pit. You'll notice we've dug down here about 7-8 inches, and then because it's heavy soil we try to loosen it up a little bit so that there's aeration and that the roots of the corn plants can go down. We've loosened up the soil and we've mixed here a mixture of black earth and cow manure from the local grocery store. So we're going to put that in along with some of the topsoil that was here already, and we'll get a nice planting medium. Now of course our African Asian brothers and sisters can't do this so easily unless it's just a little garden around their house. But in the fields they're having to do this with cow manure and with green manures. And we're going to plant in here corn, sweet corn, and we're going to plant climbing beans. You could use a row of bush beans between, but we decided in this row to put climbing beans and corn together. And we'll even have some squash. It's where you've got a cereal like corn that wants to eat the nitrogen, and you've got something like bean that's helping to fix the nitrogen. So it's turning it into actual soluble nitrogen that the plant roots can have. So for those of you who've been heavy users of chemical fertilizer, you don't have to go very heavy. We'll probably add some here later. I think Wayne will do some soluble fertilizer mixed in, and that'll be good to do several times through the summer. But in this case, there's quite a bit of manure and black soil. You can see that it's quite good in organic matter and kind of a loamy soil. So that's a good planting medium. And we're going to plant the seeds next. What we're doing now is intercropping. What we've got here, you can see these planting stations. We've made them rectangular, like a shoebox. And what this is replicating, this heavy clay soil, like look at this heavy clay soil and stones that Wayne's got here. So that is in a way similar to the poor soils that Africans have, often sandy, often degraded, often high in iron and other things that are not very good for the planting. So this is a way to cut down on labor, as we were mentioning before. You just dig up certain areas, you don't plow the whole field. So we're going to plant a cereal. Our African friends would plant either maize, corn, sorghum, millet, various cereals like that that consume nitrogen and other nutrients. And then we're going to put a legume in, such as these are a pole bean, climbing bean. This one's called Kentucky Wonder. This one will consume the nitrogen. This one will provide the nitrogen. We're going to just take a few seeds. We're going to put 2 corn seeds and 2 pole beans. So we'll put them quite a distance apart here. And these are going to be buried almost 2 inches in the ground. Beans also. These are climbing beans. We're going to put them about 2 inches in the ground. And then we're going to cover this all up. And it doesn't matter so much what we cover it with. Mixing some good soil amendments in there, and then planting approximately 2 inches deep. Of course, if you're drier, you plant a little deep. If you're a moist area like Eastern Canada, you don't have to plant as deep. 1.5 inches is fine. One of the issues, of course, in Africa is that most of it near the equator gets very drought stressed, very moisture stressed, because so much of the soil, or so much of the moisture evaporates. So what we're trying to do is cover the soil. And one way to do that is to take something like squash and use it, and it'll cover an area like this. Total coverage, and keep the moisture in the soil. Okay, we're back here. The weather's improved a bit from a few hours ago. So we've got everything planted here now, and we've got our corn and beans and a row of peas and a few hills of summer squash in this plot. And in the Canadian environment, we want the soil to warm up because we've just come through a winter and it's been a cool spring, at least here in southern Ontario. So let's say you've got your peas coming up here. So then after they're up a few inches, what you can do is you can take this leaf fodder and you can put it around the edges of them so that they're going to grow up. And what's the mulch going to do? It's going to allow the soil to stay more moist. It's going to keep the soil from getting too hot, because when you have hot summer sun, even in Canada, beating down on the soil, it's hard for the organisms. It's hard for microorganisms. It's hard even for the worms in the soil. So you want to keep your soil a little bit cooler. And of course, it's going to keep it moist. And the other big benefit is going to keep the weeds down. So just wait a few weeks till your various crops have germinated, and then you can put this mulch on. And it's good to put it on about 3 inches deep, cover everything up. And when this is rotting, it's going to help to make better soil for the future. So that's one way for us in a Canadian environment to let the soil warm up. See where your rows of vegetables are, and then mulch it, and you'll have a great crop that's not stressed by moisture. Thank you. God bless.